So that's what I'm saying. The text is like an object. It's gonna change perspective based on where you're standing. I don't know.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I missed you, baby sweet. It was a day.
It was a day.
Please tell me you're seeing this too.
From Seattle, we're Drinking the Movies. I'm Taylor Baker.
And I'm Michael Clausen. Second episode of the day. How we feeling?
Ooh, I think this beer might be kicking in.
I agree. Ready to talk about more movies?
I am. What are we talking about?
I forgot. You tell me.
Oh boy. We are going to begin with Ready or Not, starring Samara Weaving, which I think will be our first coverage of a Samara Weaving film on the show, which I'm very excited about. Number 2 is going to be It, Chapter 2, which I'm excited to never have to talk about again.
We'll get it over with.
And finally, we will be talking about Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown from director
Pedro Almodovar. We have a nice variety here.
Indeed.
First impressions. First, today we have Marriage Story from Noah Baumbach, as well as Hirokazu Korieda's The Truth. Which would you like to start with?
Let's go Marriage Story.
Let's do it.
What I love about Charlie, he loves being a dad. It's almost annoying how much he likes it. He cries easily in movies.
I cried 4 times.
Me too.
He's very competitive.
What's this? Who owns Baltic Avenue?
He's very clear about what he wants. He's a great dresser. He never looks embarrassing, which is hard for a man. He takes all of my moods steadily. He doesn't make me feel bad about them. He rarely gets defeated, which I feel like I always do.
Michael, that is the trailer for Marriage Story. What do you think?
I was excited. I remain excited. I think this looks very emotional. 2 very talented actors that I like very much. Scarlett Johansson, Adam Driver. I like Noah Baumbach quite a bit. I remain excited. What about you?
I think these Golden Globe nominees are about to be Golden Globe winners. I think that we see Golden Globe nominee about a half a dozen times in that trailer. I think that's about to go bye-bye.
They make that front and center.
I think these are going to win. This looks amazing. This might be my favorite Noah Baumbach or a trailer for my future favorite Noah Baumbach film. I think right now I'd probably go with, what's that one with Greta?
Frances Ha?
Yeah, that's, I think, my current favorite, which was a collaboration between the two. I don't know if she co-directed, but I know she co-wrote it. And his projects since then since they broke up, haven't quite been the same for me. So I think this is maybe a return to form or like a return to what Baumbach can do, which is exciting. And as you mentioned, ScarJo and Adam Driver...
they ain't bad.
This is a great cast list. Alan Alda, I think I saw Laura Dern, Ray Liotta.
Yeah, stacked.
Yes, the news currently has been that Netflix is back in the Oscar race, and I think that they were never out of it, but I definitely think that they're now deeper in it than I realized.
I would agree. I can't remember if Mistress America was pre or post Frances Ha. That's my favorite Baumbach film, but I also liked Frances Ha quite a bit. I haven't seen Margot at the Wedding. I haven't seen Squid and the Whale in a long time. I do think he's like just really interested in modern romantic relationships.
Yeah,
what marriage means to people today. And I dig it. I am pumped. Very optimistic.
I am going to temper my expectations, but like I said, I think that we've got some Golden Globe winners.
Try to put it out of mind, and we'll just stumble back into it.
On Netflix when? October?
Not too long.
November? December?
Something
Somewhere
like that.
Before the end of the year.
That is correct. Up next, we have Hirokazu Korieda's The Truth.
The follow-up to last year's Shoplifters, which I think was in both of our top 30s, at least.
Yeah, I think so.
And I've heard this is actually, like, for him, a return to the stories he wants to tell, which I find exciting, because I, in retrospect, think Shoplifters is a little bit overvalued.
Well, should we take a look?
Let's do it.
Non, aucune importance. C'est ma fille avec sa petite famille.
Elle a épousé cet acteur-là.
Oh, acteur, c'est un bien grand mot.
Welcome.
Alright, we just watched the trailer for The Truth from Korieda. What do you think?
It looks fine. It looks like I expected it to look. It doesn't look bad. I'm excited about Deneuve and Binoche and Hawk being in a movie together, but I just don't think it's going to do anything to surprise me or, like, challenge the form. I think it'll just be a solid movie that, you know, I won't really talk about after we talk about it. You know, like, it won't come back.
Expectations cooled, huh?
Yeah. How about you?
I think I am more excited. I'm kind of interested in the change of culture. Like, it looks very French from a director who is very not French. You know, from a guy who's, like, usually compared to, like, Ozu doing a very wordy French family drama. Like, I'm just kind of intrigued by the change of pace, I guess. It looks more like an Olivier Assayas film.
It feels like a change of pace to you.
Culturally, yeah.
Well, but I mean, like, content-wise. Like, to me, I thought I was seeing a lot of what I saw in Shoplifters.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a good thing. Like, his interests maybe remain the same, you know, family, interpersonal dynamics in current day. But I think the milieu actually feels, like, extraordinarily different. These look like bourgeois, you know, French people versus Japanese impoverished people. I think it's, you know, just enough of a tweak on what he might ordinarily be interested in that seems like kind of an interesting new step, or next step, I guess. I agree, like, there's never any good way to really, like, package this kind of movie in a trailer, because it's a drama, you know, and there's no thrill to it, but
see Rachel getting married for how to make it thrilling.
True, and I would imagine that probably had a thrilling trailer. This looks maybe a bit more casual in its going, but I don't know. I still got a good feeling about it.
Yeah, it seems fine. I don't know. I'm pretty let down by the lack of Julie Delpy, so.
That's true.
Delpy.
I can always use more of her.
Especially in an Ethan Hawke movie in France. I mean, come on.
I know, don't remind me. Word. Nowhere to go but up. That's the good thing about having tempered expectations.
Are you ready? Or not?
I think I'm ready.
So, at midnight, you have to play a game.
Why
It's just something we do when someone new joins the family.
a game? What game? Hide and seek? Are we really gonna play that?
Well, the rules are simple. You can hide anywhere. We then try to find you
So there's no way for me to win, right?
and stay hidden till dawn.
No, thank you.
Good luck.
What the hell is this? How old is this thing?
I know you're in here.
Oh, Jesus. You shot the maid.
Ready or Not, a movie...
From Double Directors.
That is right. I couldn't tell you the names of either or one of them off the top of my head.
I would agree with that.
I believe it's still currently playing in theaters.
Correct.
At least it is in Seattle. I had a fabulous time with this movie. What about you?
I had a lovely time with this film. I particularly enjoyed Samara Weaving and Adam Brody's performances. I actually don't think Andie MacDowell was very good.
I would agree.
Which took me by surprise. I expected her to be one of the turnstiles of solidity in this film, and she definitely didn't really seem to show up for me, which was new in my experiences with her.
I would agree. I did not get as much from her as I would have liked. She didn't, wasn't bad. Just expect more.
Yeah.
From Andy McDowell. But I would agree. I haven't seen Adam Brody in I don't know how many years. I associate him with like my.
You watched the OC.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say I associate him with like my early teenage years. I think he does a nice job here. I guess it just hadn't even really clicked beforehand that this was maybe an R rating. I guess I was expecting something a little tamer, but this gets pretty grisly, pretty violent. I think it remains kind of light in its, movement, scene to scene. I think it is brisk in its pace. Some of the sentimental beats maybe don't land. I also wouldn't say that I was laughing out loud a great deal, but I was thoroughly amused for just about the whole runtime.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Amused. Yeah. It definitely got me to chuckle, not so much as laugh, but go, I get it.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it took itself too seriously.
Definitely not. That's when Samara's at her best, is when she can kind of be a little bit, like, aloof to everything around her and go, like, are you fucking serious? You know, like, that's kind of, like, her tone. Whether it's in the limited series Picnic at Hanging Rock, or even her character in, what's that gal's name? Frankie... I can't remember her last name, but she runs a show on Showtime called Smilf that Samara plays major lead or major supporting actor or actress in, and she definitely gets to play like the snarky girl that we kind of see here very much in tone, and do a lot of the facial tick stuff, and that's when she's good, when she can kind of play to the camera more than play to the characters in the film.
Yeah, in terms of the trope of the final girl, like, I think I usually associate that with, the very fearful girl, the girl who's terrified, running from whatever it is that's trying to kill her. And there is, a almost like more annoyance from her performance by what all is going on.
Exhaustion.
Yeah, which I thought was a very nice tweak on that, very refreshing. I kind of like just the overall style of it, right? Like, it could have just been kind of a modern wealthy family, but it's kind of got this, like, new gothic kind of look to the house and everything. The old, is it the aunt or the grandma who's wearing, like, purple and stuff, and she just looks kind of gargoyle-like or something. Like, it just feels different enough to kind of make its mark.
It's, I don't know if you've ever read the short story, but it's definitely a riff on a short story called The Most Dangerous Game.
Oh, yeah.
In which a man is hunted by a hunter on his expensive mansion, and if he survives or escapes, he wins. And that's very much what's happening here, except for this has the devil.
Exactly. What do you think? Did you think this is going to actually be supernatural in any way? Or no?
I did in the beginning, and then in the middle I was like, huh. Then in the end I was like, yes, I knew it.
I was very satisfied. I kind of went back and forth just like you did, and I was pleased by that. I thought it nicely kept me wondering which way it might go. Yeah.
Who do you think the most important person is in the making of this film?
The most important person.
What a leading question he asked.
Yeah. Would you like to offer your thoughts?
Oh, I'll tell you. I will tell you, Michael.
What do you got?
The wardrobe department.
Ooh.
Because that dress that Samara wears, they had to not fuck that up. Because if you shoot one segment out of sequence where that dress has a stain on it that it shouldn't, it would be blatantly obvious. Because she wears the same dress the whole movie. And you can't shoot something before she tears it off. You can't shoot something when she's wearing different shoes. And the slow build of it getting soiled and blood on it and where the blood spatter is. And when she tears the sleeve off so that she can wrap up her hand. Like, it's a whole thing. And I thought the job that was done was just expert. I couldn't spot a single time where the wardrobe department messed up. And that is such a hard task.
Yeah, I am rarely observant enough to acknowledge that kind of thing. So I deeply admire the call out to the wardrobe department because they are the unsung heroes of things like this. You're absolutely right. And wardrobes all around, right? They're different.
Mm-hmm.
They're,
like you said, kind of gothic.
yeah. But not outrageous. It's not goofy, I guess. It's fun, but I wouldn't call it goofy.
Yeah, I mean, it has a few goofy moments, but it doesn't let itself become goofy.
Yeah.
It's like a tang, like the flavor of it is gothic with a tang.
I like that. Do you think this has franchise potential?
I do, but I don't think they'll do it.
No?
No, it's Fox Searchlight, not Blumhouse. So I don't think so, because I doubt that Samara would be willing to come back and do the same thing. She's actually like kind of becoming a little bit more of a picky actress. Like, even if she picks projects that aren't what we would call good, they're characters that she feels like comfortable playing. And the noises she was making while she's been on the press circuit for this film are kind of like, she's really glad she did it, but like she thinks she's had her time with this character. Yeah. So, I mean, if they do, I imagine it would be a Jumanji situation where they start from scratch and play a new game. So, like, the devil is also in South America, and this family is another game family, and instead of Ready or Not, it's hide and seek or something, like...
Yeah, like, would I show up for it? Maybe, but it also seems like the kind of thing that would just tear itself apart, trying to maybe, like, build out its mythology somehow, which would be terrible. I kind of think a good thing is left best alone.
Maybe in, like, 20 years... when Samara's in her 40s, and, like, the devil comes calling or something, like there might be an interesting screenplay, like, way down the line, but I don't think that franchise, like, current contemporary franchise strategies, I wouldn't be interested in the exploration. I think that we saw Happy Death Day to You prove that just, it doesn't work unless there's something sincere to it.
Yeah. I would agree. But I would highly recommend it.
Favorite scene?
Good question. You go. Well, I think.
Fuck you, man. Shit, I didn't have something ready. I just wanted to give you a chance. I'm gonna make noises while I pretend to think. Favorite scene? Probably when she goes to get back in the dumbwaiter.
Oh, yeah.
And there's already a girl in there who screams and then and is scared, and that, like, scared me. With the girl that gets scared. Or no, Samara gets scared.
Like, oh shit, get out.
We're all scared, basically. And then she starts calling for her, for everyone to come get Samara. Samara, like, tells her to shut up and, like, hits the button to make it, like, go or whatever. And then she's slowly crushed and, like, almost cut in half by the doors of the dumbwaiter. I thought that was quite humorous.
Great stuff.
Because I didn't see it in the trailer, and so many other scenes I'd seen in the trailer.
Yeah, there was a lot here. Sometimes with this kind of genre thing, you kind of expect the highlights to have already... you expect to already know them from the trailer. Like when she goes to the barn and falls in the pit of dead animals, that's where I think I realized, I was like, wow, this is kind of a hard R in a way. Like, this is pretty gross, and I kind of like it.
Specifically when she climbs up the ladder.
Yeah.
Uses
that was a surprise. Yeah. And I was down with it.
I was too.
And the tone in those scenes is never, like, I don't know, trying to be too terribly repulsive. It somehow is sort of retaining its light tone.
Yeah.
Even though it's very, kind of dark and grisly. Which I think is, a sign of a good director. Right?
Or directors.
So
correct. Did you settle on a favorite scene?
Probably that one. Just because I was so surprised by it.
Okay.
There you go.
I also think that the car flip was pretty well done.
It was.
Like,
that guy had a bigger
things.
role in the movie than I was expecting. The butler, she is
the
going toe to toe with
butler.
him for a good chunk of this.
Yeah,
he's her biggest
foe.
foe.
The lead manservant.
Yeah, I'm expecting the family. No, Butler's I'm fucking here to play.
I'm gonna prove my value. I can't lose my role. The devil's gonna kill them all.
Yeah. He did work.
So I gave this a 4. You gave this a 4.
I did.
This
Feel good about
is one of the better genre horror movies we've seen all year.
Definitely one of the more fun ones I've seen at the movies.
Yeah. All right, on to something we have to just get out of the way.
Something happens to you when you leave this town. The farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
That is it, Chapter 2. Michael gagged. Hold on.
That's right.
Hold it in.
Mm-hmm. It Chapter 2, directed by Andy Muschietti.
You hated this movie even more vocally and violently than I did. I honestly had a hard time hating the movie because it was just so bad as a movie and a story, but everybody did their damnedest to make this trash work. Should we start at your favorite character?
My favorite character?
Yeah.
Oh,
you don't know who your favorite character is? Allow me to tell you.
Okay.
Xavier Dolan's character, who opens up the film.
I was surprised. I was, it had my attention. That was interesting. Yeah, interesting opening scene. We're kind of led to think that we're going to go into this funhouse circus scene, right? That we open up on. We detour to the bridge where we see Xavier Dolan and his boyfriend get beat up and thrown over a bridge. It's not a light opening by any means.
Well, it's
and then he's eaten by a clown, so...
I mean, specifically, it's kind of... the film starts with gay bashing, specifically.
Right.
And it's kind of a theme that continues throughout the film as an undercurrent.
Right.
And I don't know that it serves a sincere purpose.
Right. The only... I in some of my, casual browsing since then, somehow read somewhere that was based on a true story of some kind. Where, when, what exactly happened, I don't know. But that was...
Well, I'm sure that sounds like something that's absolutely a
right
thing.
Yeah. Born out of a particular instance that they wanted to speak to, which I thought was kind of interesting. If this is supposed to be something about memory and selective memory, the kinds of things we want to forget, maybe the inclusion of a scene like that is about not forgetting, right? That kind of thing happens, and has happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of maybe made sense in hindsight, but I just thought this movie was awful. I was just bored out of my mind. It is.
I agree.
Bored out of my mind.
The term that I used in my review is fetch quests.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't play video games much anymore, but a fetch quest is when someone tells you to go get something, and then you proceed to go get it. But we do that with every single one of the characters multiple times. And it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's not good when, Stanley dies before the story even gets going, and I'm relieved just because I know there are too many characters already. I'm good, slim this down. There are too many people. It's exhausting.
So we are missing the original cinematographer from the first It, which goes by the name of Chung Hoon Chung. And he most famously was the cinematographer for the original version of Old Boy. But more notably for you and I, in recent years, he was the cinematographer for one of our favorite foreign films of the decade, The Handmaiden.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Cool.
So when we are looking at this film wondering why is it so bad even though it looks fine, it might have to do with, just someone who's not up to that level of cinematography that Chung was up to. It looks like he was shooting Last Night in Soho with Edgar Wright instead of this movie. So,
good choice.
Good call on his part. If not that, he was shooting Zombieland Double Tap. So he's clearly on to better projects than this. And he actually does have another movie coming out this year called The Current War from 2017, which is finally releasing at some point this year, I think.
Interesting filmography. Yeah.
Because I noticed that. I haven't seen the first one since it came out, but I'm sure you just watched the first one. Did you notice a difference in the quality of the cinematography? Because I felt like I did, but I'm, unreliable.
I did not. That wouldn't have jumped out to me at first. I didn't think the first one looked great. I don't know that this one looks great to me either, but I think it's more that I'm just like too bothered by too many other things that are going on. I don't know that I would have picked up on that necessarily, but it doesn't seem to have helped. Put it that way.
I mean, that finale in the crater of the meteorite, like, it just seemed like it was shot wrong. The throwback stuff to the children, like, it just felt like it was shot wrong. The shot of the sewer grate, like, there's some weird stuff where it doesn't feel like it's even lit correctly. Maybe I was just so removed from the movie and didn't take it seriously, like, at all. That
I was there.
Because other people told me that they were, like, they were legitimately scared at certain points, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just thought the whole thing was a comedy, and the only part that I thought was astounding was when they basically just copied the Quays on their creatures. Like, some of those creatures, and the animation was straight out of Aquaman. Like, those effects looked really solid, and they looked like they were from the Quay brothers.
Yeah.
But otherwise, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think my score, I gave it a 1 out of 5, is lower than most, and, like,
it is.
I could, point to particulars that I think were fine in terms of, like, creature design and,
performances
the
with
craft,
the material
the craft in certain regard, yeah, but I think it's all just in service of something that I found exceedingly dull. I thought, like, these characters are just supremely hollow, so the ideas and themes about memory just fall right off the screen. I think it's just exhausting how it feels like a scene list rather than a narrative with, like, connective tissue from start to finish.
I think that maybe that's a good lead-in for that quote that I have from Kubrick. I think right now I'll go ahead and read it. This is in regards to The Shining, when he was asked about kind of the process of adapting it. It is in the pruning down phase that the undoing of great novels usually occurs, because so much of what is good about them has to do with the fineness of the writing, the insight of the author, and often the density of the story. But The Shining was a different matter. Its virtues lay almost entirely in the plot. And I question whether or not that might be something that's actually just true of Stephen King, not so much just The Shining, but when I think about 11/22/63 or The Drawing of the Three or even The Gunslinger, it's not that these characters are great characters. They're all normal people. He tends to only write normal people in extraordinary circumstances, and those circumstances would be called a plot. And so it is the plot rather than the things that we find in other works of fiction, I think. And so I do question whether or not that might be a problem in adaptation of King's work.
Yeah, I haven't read a single Stephen King book.
Okay.
So it's hard to say whether... I can't comment on, the extent to which they're bad adaptations versus problematic source material. Did you read it, the book? Or was it a book?
I haven't read it.
No,
yes, it's a book.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just hard to say. Like, to me, what is just like astounding is that over 2 movies, over 5 hours, this love triangle between Jessica Chastain, the chubby kid, and James McAvoy, like, is still reduced to this stupid postcard that, like, there is not, like, a single conversation between any of the two of them that I think illuminates what they mean to each other to me in any way. Like, I just found it mind-numbing how thin that love triangle is and how meaningless it is to me. And, like, whether that's King or the movie, I don't know, but whichever it is, it made for a pathetic experience for me.
As pathetic as that was, it is not as pathetic as the wasted talents of James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, and Bill Hader. 3 of some of the best working actors today. Specifically, McAvoy's ability to embody a character fully and sincerely. You know, I don't question for a second when I'm watching him in that movie that he is who he's playing. Just that it's a bad fucking movie, and nothing that they do can save the scene.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a director's job to make sure the efforts of everyone involved are in service of something. Yeah. Right? It's about cohesiveness and tone management, as Michael Phillips loves to say.
Tone management, great point.
Yeah, which I would describe as all over the place. And I don't know, there's just something incredibly unmoving to me about what the Losers Club is meant to be all about. I think that just falls so flat. I think the exposition is just awful. Especially during the scene where James McAvoy's character, I think his name's Bill, takes the, like, trippy drink. We get that backstory with the mythology regarding the Native Americans first meeting this demon. I thought that was just terrible. This movie, I think, is more about surprise than suspense.
I think it's more about comedy than suspense.
That's true, too, but very true. You know, the idea that something can make you jump in your seat versus sit up in your seat with anticipation, very rarely did I do the latter.
Yeah.
Jump scares, I think, can be valuable. There is some of that here, but in terms of my interest in what followed from any one scene was just not existent. Painful.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't really ask you a question.
I fundamentally agree with everything you said, and I've been watching Barry. It's been over for, I think, since June, but, like, I've just recently seen Bill Hader give one of the most moving character performances in a limited series or television show all year. And now I watch him here with just dog shit material left on the sidewalk that I just stepped in. And I had to pay and use my 3 hours to step in it. And it bothers me that because he's so talented and it's such a waste. And it's not just a waste of him, it's a waste of Chastain, and it's a waste of James McAvoy. And I mean, Mama, the first feature film from Andy Muschietti, is one of my favorite horror films this century so far. And I don't get it. I don't get this misstep.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a waste of Bill Skarsgård, too. I don't think there's enough of the clown.
I don't think there's enough of the clown building a character of the clown.
Yeah.
He's just, like, used as a eccentric, like, motif in the corner.
Yeah, I don't understand why he is not terrifying. It's very frustrating. How badly I want to be afraid, and I'm not.
At all.
No. But I always like what he's doing. I'm always kind of excited once he finally shows up on screen. I think the finale is a bust. To me, that seems to lean into spectacle-driven
It reminds me of specifically the DC comic book movie endings. That I think the criticism is they often move in the third act to a grayscale, large battlefield that is dark.
Yeah,
and I think that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I agree. I do not like this movie. Sam, I am. This movie is bad. Hopefully that interview where he said that there's enough to make a third movie isn't true.
Oh, God.
It doesn't sound like there's any plans to make it, just that he thinks that there is enough to make it, which is probably just something that he has to say because, he's in the employment of that company still, from what I gather contractually. So, let's move away from this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll just say that I read some people say that they thought it should have been a miniseries, which I understand that idea, that it's episodic, but I also am just astounded you would want more and not less from a nearly 3-hour movie.
Agreed. Less sounds good.
Word.
Less sounds great.
Let's talk about it.
I would rather... that sounds fantastic. But I mean, honestly, if I ever watched another interpretation of this, it would only be because the villain was taking center stage. Like, if I watch the movie It, I want to follow it in its murderous, conniving mystery. Like, I want to see him sit in a corner for 2 minutes and wait for someone to walk in,
kicking it in the gutter
and destroy them. Yeah, I want to see him lure someone into a gutter, and I just want to follow like that teleportation and that character around as they wreak havoc. I don't care about the human side of the story anymore. I just don't.
Word. Let's move on.
I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
It's a romance, but it's not about love. It's a comedy, but not everyone's laughing. It's a place where the one thing you can't expect is the unexpected.
Amor, llévenme al aeropuerto.
No puedo, he quedado.
He dicho que me lleve.
Women on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
All right, this is a hard pivot away from horror, commercial horror, to an 80s Spanish comedy melodrama.
But, like Ready or Not, it's good.
It is good. You liked it?
I liked it a lot.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen a review yet, so I wasn't sure.
I finished it last night. Didn't have the time to review it and edit the current episode that folks can listen to. And
Still to
finish
come.
Light of My Life. So, I had the
things to
had
do.
the pivot.
Glad to hear it.
Things that I love, directing and editing. Cinematography, Antonio Banderas. Every performer, Antonio Banderas. The directing.
Word. I will round it out. I really like the production design and the costume design. Things like one character who has coffee percolator earrings.
Well, that's just because Gabs just switched to the percolator. So
even had
it was
I not
fitting
just
your life.
bought a percolator, I would still say those are dope earrings.
They are.
I think those are kind of on par with, like, in terms of movie earrings, with the ones that Tessa Thompson's character had in Sorry to Bother You. That was the last time that, like, earrings popped out to me. Those were cool. I'm like, oh, those are dope. It's
for a
super...
second I was thinking Emma Thompson, and I was like, Emma Thompson and Sorry to Bother You?
Not
oh,
quite.
Tessa, yes.
There it is. Yeah, I think it's a great time. I didn't laugh out loud a great deal. I kind of feel like that might sometimes be the case with foreign comedy, where it has to do with timing to some extent, that I personally maybe have a little bit harder of a time with. I usually don't just laugh out loud quite as much.
To me, it was just like absurd Bomback styling. Like, it wasn't funny in the classical sense of funny. It felt like very melodramatically dry, the way that Bomback feels. But, like, it would be so absurd, like the scenarios at some points where I'd, like, giggle. Not because I should, but because, like, I'm just finding it so humorous that they missed each other again.
Yeah. Bomback's funny comparison, like with Mistress America being very screwball farce in its making. I like that's very similar to what this feels like to me. You know, the fast paced witty dialogue.
Is Mistress America the one with Lola?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a sharp one.
Yeah. But maybe not, laughing out loud, but I had a very good time. I think it's a great cast. I think everyone's very, very funny. And it's just kind of an amalgamation, I think, of kind of influences and influences that I really like, right? Like we were texting beforehand about the Johnny Guitar reference, but it also kind of has this soap opera kind of feel, but also screwball comedy. Like I think that all just kind of comes together in a very seamless way that I find pretty fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Did this come out before or after Jackie Brown?
Probably before, right? I think Jackie Brown was
so
90s. This was like late 80s, I think.
Okay. Because there's a scene in the airport when she's on that horizontal escalator.
Yeah.
Where it's shot very much like Tarantino shot Jackie Brown, but more reduced, more limited, less... there's less prowess on display, but there's clearly like the beginning inkling of that shot.
Yeah.
In my personal view.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I remember thinking the exact same thing. Like, I wonder if there's a reference point maybe even further back that they're both sort of starting with.
Yeah. But Tarantino's just such a film nerd that, like,
right?
There's no way he didn't know about this.
Yeah.
I take the over on he knew about this, like, since the year it came out.
Likely. The encyclopedic knowledge, makes it seem probable. What else? I don't know. I just had a good time. I like the zany energy of it. That it's not over the top, I guess. It's maybe it is over the top, but it's not. I still wouldn't describe it as too silly or goofy or something like that. It's kind of about excess in some way with the emotion and the production design, but I don't know. It just feels right. I don't know.
It's definitely weird to me. Like it's in the Todd Solondz genre of like oddity, of like it just makes me nervous. Like, I'm filled with anxiety when I watch it. It stresses me out to watch it, but I like watching it. Like a Todd Solondz movie. Yeah,
with Todd Solondz, I usually think of those as, like, feel-bad movies. This is more of a feel-good for me, but I completely agree there is something about the eccentricity of it, right? It's just, like, a little curious.
Does this fit into, like, the foreign camp genre?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
This blows my mind. I just made an accurate statement about camp.
I don't think we did any foreign films during our camp episode.
We did not.
Right? I think those were all American. But I think so. There is something about the absurdity of it that feels campy.
Eccentricity of it.
Yeah. I felt that way whenever the woman who's coming out of the insane asylum would show up. She felt particularly campy to me. Something about that makeup.
Yvonne's wife.
Yeah.
The makeup.
The ex-wife. I guess they're still married. Yeah.
And there's like a correlation in my head between the makeup from Johnny Guitar and the makeup with her.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Just a little flamboyant in some way.
And even the Picasso-looking woman. Yeah.
I really liked her. She was funny. Being not half asleep, completely asleep for most of this.
Very striking.
Yeah.
Visually.
Yeah. I like the casting, I guess. Antonio Banderas, that, Eraserhead kind of hair he's got going on. The impulsive wanting to kiss the girl who's caught in the terrorist plot every once in a while. I thought that was super funny. I'm kind of intrigued by like his relationship with Almodovar. It sounds like that's like ongoing, a long-term kind of thing. He doesn't have a big role here, but I don't know. I'm always kind of intrigued by directors recurring to work with the same people.
And Banderas is having quite like the resurgence artistically. It seems to me. I know you haven't seen Pain and Glory yet, but between that and The Laundromat, he's got
right. I was trying to think about what else he had coming out.
The Skin I
yeah.
Live In is still, doing the critic rounds, even though it's been out for a long time. There's still people catching up with it every week that are, I see it getting a 5 on Letterboxd more often than not.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, he's graduated from that Shrek relegation that he had.
Right. Exactly.
Of Puss in Boots.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think Almodovar maybe has a rather humble opinion of men. I like his making of films usually about women. I don't know. It sounds like that might not be the case with Pain and Glory, because that's maybe a little more personal / autobiographical.
Whoa, is this the same guy?
Say more.
Pain and Glory, The Skin I Live In, is Almodovar?
Yeah.
Whoa. I had no idea.
I thought we were talking about that.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
The correlations are heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When you get to Pain and Glory, the women will be these stronger characters, and it is the feminine aspects of the men that will bring about the best parts of them, I'll say. Yeah. Obviously, representation is a very hot question today, and whether or not, men should be the one to tell women's stories. I get the sense he's someone who maybe kind of gets that right. He's telling stories about women. This is about, in part, women kind of being driven nuts by a guy. Mm-hmm. And their hysteria is not the subject of ridicule, but it's comedic, but also empathetic to some degree. It's sincere at some basic level.
Yeah. And there's nothing that ever feels like male gazy about it.
No,
to me,
because he's gay,
right?
So.
Yeah. I'm just not sure who else I might kind of compare him to in terms of like that kind of movie he's kind of interested in making. That's influenced by melodrama and women's pictures, like the Cirque kinds of films of the 50s. And I dig it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something of that film school of the 90s, I guess, to me. Like, he's somewhere between Jarmusch and Rodriguez, if I had to, try to use, American filmmakers of that point in time to express, his eccentricities. It feels like he's got, the clear voice for characters that Rodriguez has, but that kind of aloofness of commitment, maybe, that Jarmusch has, where he'll just let his worlds kind of be ethereal while the characters that are in them are having honest experiences.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say Pain and Gain, which is definitely not right.
Yes, because that's a top 5 movie of the decade.
Very different. Pain and Glory.
Not as good.
Have not. Oh, you didn't like that quite as much as Women on the Verge?
Gain? No.
Versus Women on the Verge.
Yeah, no, Pain and Glory I think is better.
Except?
Personally. It speaks to me at a craft level that I really like. It's not dissimilar from The Man Who Killed Don Quixote in tone this year. Once you watch it, I think you'll see why, and you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is a Taylor type of motif. Once you have to experience the beginning and the end in order to really kind of get the gist. It's one of those.
I am excited.
It'd be like guessing what Under the Skin is from the trailer.
Bad idea.
You will be wrong. You need to see the end.
You will be very wrong. Any favorite scene?
Good question. Great question. That's tough. I think I have to go with the one that I already brought up at the airport, where we're seeing that same Pam Grier, Jackie Brown style of moving horizontally, and then the overshot where she's going up the escalator, and it takes up about a third, or maybe it's directly half of the screen. Just the way that he supercuts those is really sharp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't really a scene, but I think my favorite shot, at least, would be when Yvonne's wife is on the back of the motorcycle on her way to the airport, and the hair is like flying directly backwards, and then she comes in and she's like a mess. I think that's maybe one of the times I did get a laugh out loud, partly because I think that did feel particularly campy. I think she was pretty funny. But
that whole sequence where the girlfriend's pissed because any girl is riding on the back of the bike, and then she's like, she's got a gun. She's holding him at gunpoint, and she's like, that's no excuse. I'm the only girl that rides on the back of that motorcycle.
I like that.
I love that, yeah. That's part of that eccentricity of it.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I enjoyed this recommendation. I'm glad that you made us watch it. I think that's it for this episode. How about you?
I'm ready to sign off.
That's a wrap.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
We have to go.
I'm coming with you.
That was brilliant.
You're the best and we love you!
Another one in the can.
There it is.